When you think of a fan game based on Five Nights at Freddy's, what do you think of? Horror typically, right? Well, usually that's what a decent percentage of them are, but sometimes FNaF fan games might go for a different tone or style. One of the most popular tone and style changes in FNaF fan games are ones that are primarily comedy. They're ones that are destined to be funny. These are the fan games that will allow players to take a break from the horror of the series and just give you time to simply laugh. I'm going to go over the top 5 FNaF fan games that do this the best in my opinion. As a fair warning, I'm going to be focusing primarily on the comedy aspects of these games. I'm not going to be touching on the gameplay, or graphics, or story, unless they have some involvement with the game's comedy. This will be most apparent with number 5 on this list. Remember, these are my personal opinions, this is subjective, and secondly, the footage in this video does not belong to me and it belongs to their respective owners. As well, if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe down below and turn on the notification bell. Totally optional, but it'd be appreciated if you did. Without further ado, let's get into this. So, Five Nights with 39. As the whole game itself, I'm mixed on. On one hand, I think the graphics are pretty poor and bland, the gameplay is easy as hell outside of Plushie 39 on the later nights, it's often luck-based with the power around Night 6, the original Nights 1 to 6 version without Night 7 that was played endlessly by everyone back in 2017 was made in only a week, which could be seen as questionable to whether it was rushed. However, with these negatives, on the other hand, the game has great storytelling. Speaking of story, Night 6 and 7 are good nights from a story perspective. 39 the Bunny is legitimately good as a character, and the player can easily sympathize with him and his struggles near the end of the game. There's tiny aspects and details about the game that make it seem more polished than a decent portion of other fan games out there. The game has a good soundtrack and a generally good sound design. The cutscenes, while they're great for the game's good story, the cutscenes are also great from an animation perspective. The anniversary version admittedly has better and more improved graphics. There's game jolt achievements, which to me is always a positive for a FNaF fan game because it gives the game replayability, which gives the player more reasons to play the game. And then, there's the other positive I got with this game that I want to talk about since that's what this video is dedicated to. This game's comedy is honestly pretty good and overhated. This main critique people have with this game's comedic attempts is the repetition, and by that I mean the fact it's the same lines and jokes each and every time. The fact lines get repeated in nights. Now okay, that's a critique I kind of agree with. I think if the comedy lines that are said randomly throughout the nights were different each night, I personally think it'd be more unique and less repetitive. Because besides the repetition, I think the comedic angle and aim this game is going for is really good, and ignoring how the lines are constantly repeated and are a similar theme, I think the lines themselves are actually really funny.
Last night I have to put up with your shit, Sam. Man, this calls for a celebration. I'm going to give you a fresh batch of insults that I have totally not pulled from the internet. You are a stupid douche canoe.
And no, I don't necessarily like the cursing equals funny angle a lot of edgy media out there try to do, which sure, this game has a lot of, and furthermore, that's what made this game successful, but I feel like if it's unexpected and you don't see it coming, it can make you laugh a bit. But as well, in this game, it tries to do something in a lot of comedic lines as well as the cursing equals funny ones. There's a theme or direction in there that this game and the third entry on this list share, which I'll reveal that game once we get there, but this certain direction or theme is the concept of poking fun at the FNaF formula. Five Nights at Freddy's, for a lot of the games in the series, while it is a great and iconic series and formula that a lot of people, myself included, love, it's admittedly though something that can warrant a lot of jokes when looking at the formula further, and Five Nights with 39 is one of those games that do it and in my opinion does it successfully. In this game, there's a lot of lines said by 39 that references aspects of FNaF's formula and even its fandom. Honestly, very genius comedy. And to round off the comedy for this game, I'll admit, Night 6 is fucking hilarious. Both the beginning of the night
Fuck yeah. Oh, I miss you so. Whoa! Fuck!
and the ending cutscene.
I just encountered something on the internet. It appears to be a video of me having a wank. Looks like you got the recorded footage from the video cameras and posted it on YouTube. Thanks a lot.
Yes, call it shock value, try-hardy, desperate for laughs, or even offensive and disgusting if you really want, but I'm sorry. Who can't laugh at this first sight? It's just gold. Five Nights with 39, from a comedy standpoint, is overhated. While I'm mixed on the whole game because of other aspects like gameplay and graphics, I cannot deny that other aspects like the story, but especially the comedy, is pretty good, and the game's honestly good comedy is why it still gets a spot on this list. So basically, these series of fan games I knew for a while, but I didn't play them until 2021, where I was encouraged by my friend Spongy124 to play them, and oh my god. These games are honestly very underrated in the FNaF fangame world, especially when it comes to comedic FNaF fangames. When it comes to the comedy, this fangame series basically is very memey, to say the least. It's literally memes. There are memes everywhere. Memes in the cameras, memes in the office, memes in the sound design, literally memes on the loading screens. The loading screens! And furthermore, this series' enemies are literally boxes. You know, that fact alone just makes this game very stupid, but in a good, funny way. There isn't exactly a genius approach being taken or anything revolutionary to comedy in these games. These games are just simply made to be random as hell and give the players a fun time and laugh. And the fact it's a rather short experience in comparison to the top 2 entries on this list, which can be very long games, just makes it all better. Each game in the One Night with a Box series is pretty good and are great from a comedy perspective. Gay Location is currently my favorite one out of these games because I feel like it's the most funniest one out of all of these due to the pure exaggeration, but they're all pretty good and I'm glad I got to play them. Okay, so ignoring the creator and his actions for like 2 to 3 minutes and just looking at only the games, I love these games. Of course, there's the absolutely addicting gameplay and well-drawn graphics and the beautiful conclusion that was Flumpty's 3, but as well, the comedic approach with this trilogy is also another aspect I love about it. At first, yeah, it looks as silly as opposed to the Five Nights at Freddy's horror, but when you look at it in a more general lens, your question would be, what's so funny about the game though? To those asking that question, I got an answer. Alright, I'm gonna compare One Night at Flumpty's to another game on this list for only one thing. Because besides this one thing, these two games are nothing alike. They are so not alike and so different from each other that just saying you're comparing these two games is going to be enough for someone to bat an eye at you. But there's one huge thing that One Night at Flumpty's and Five Nights with 39 have in common. Just like Five Nights with 39, One Night at Flumpty's takes the approach of poking fun at the FNaF formula. However, how these two games do it and their executions are completely different. The original Five Nights at Freddy's games, before FNaF World at least, had a horror environment that made you feel scared. However, FNaF was always in a middle ground. It was never too mature, but it was never too friendly. What 39 and Flumpty's does is that one of them takes a side on the scale on what to poke fun at FNaF with, and the other game takes the other side of the scale. 39 takes the side of how the original FNaF games were never that mature in its themes. Flumpty's takes the side of the games never being that silly. Flumpty's is basically a silly version of Five Nights at Freddy's. Flumpty's 1 literally being the first game, but more comical. Now there's gore in Flumpty's, yes, that is absolutely an aspect about the game. But it's cartoony, and you have to play the game to see that. In terms of the whole game, the graphics are drawn. That's the first obvious point to make. The characters are literally just animals or objects or whatever. It's sort of random, but that's what makes it work and makes it more silly. There's small details throughout the game that makes this universe logic more interesting and comical. One Night at Flumpty's is a parody game, and that's quite honestly why this game is hilarious. This trilogy is a classic. I love Five Nights at Fuckboys. This at the time, and possibly still today, is/was the biggest example of FNaF comedy games. While I personally prefer the entry at number 1 because I find the number 1 spot on this list slightly more funnier than this trilogy, I'll agree that this trilogy is the textbook definition of comedic FNaF fangames, and that these games are really funny. What made this fangame stand out at the time was the absolutely genius writing and dialogue. Almost every single line this game has is either iconic and popular among the community.
Inhale my dong enragement, child.
Brings in very unique changes between characters.
Freddy, my fucking head is gone.
Use one of the spares, you fucking shit.
But it's not the same.
Let me guess. You want me to go find your fucking head?
Yes.
I fucking hate you.
or is just so off the wall and hilarious.
Can the pirate masturbate in this fucking house?
Making this all better are the text-to-speech voices. Fucking golden. This game's comedic angle is unmatched. It's just ridiculous situation after ridiculous situation, and I fucking love this game series for that. Admittedly, I think the first game is overall the funniest in the trilogy, and is overall the better game, but the second and third game are also very amazing at gameplay and have their moments.
Get fucking fucked, you motherfucking motherfucker.
Engage the foxy motherfucker.
This fangame trilogy spawned in a whole genre of fangames, and for that alone, this trilogy is special and deserves a spot on this list. Five Nights at Fuckboys is the founder of comedic FNaF Fangames, and overall, this series was important to the FNaF fangame industry, and to me, I think it's very clear why. Five Nights at Fuckboys walked so Dayshift at Freddy's could run. The Dayshift at Freddy's trilogy, my god, I fucking love this trilogy to death, and these three FNaF fangames are personally three of my favorite FNaF fangames of all fucking time. I'll go over these three fangames in much more detail in my upcoming Dayshift at Freddy's review/analysis series, which will kickstart my FNaF fangame review videos, but in the meantime, I'll go over in a summary sense on why this game does great at comedy. The Dayshift at Freddy's games are also very notable among the community for the story, which is a massive reason why I love these games. But I'm focusing on the other massive reason why these games were well received: the comedy. The comedy in the Dayshift at Freddy's trilogy is best when it comes to comedic FNaF fangames because of one simple word: variety. The comedy in Dayshift at Freddy's has variety. It has many forms of comedy. And to prove it and use as examples, I want to also bring this up. What if I told you that Dayshift at Freddy's' comedy is made up by every single primary comedy approach that every FNaF fangame on this list for this video did? I'm not kidding. Dayshift at Freddy's has a supply of comedy from every single game on this list. To start off, Dayshift obviously has the edgy offensive jokes that Five Nights at 39 has. This trilogy also has the off-the-wall memey and random shenanigans shit that One Over the Box has. It also has the silly, stupid, and against the universe's logic kind of stuff that One Into Flumpty's has. This game also pokes fun at FNaF like how 39 and Flumpty does. And this game also has the very clever dialogue and writing that Fuckboys has, text-to-speech voices included.
Yes.
You can't beat this. These games have it all. And just like Fuckboys, this game has very iconic bits, whether it's moments and lines from the game, or even the characters of this game.
Hello there, old sport.
Simply, the Dayshift at Freddy's trilogy is the funniest FNaF fangame, or fangames, of all time.
That was fucking stupid.